I want to talk about something important today because it's time to get back to our roots around free expression on Facebook and Instagram. We're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes, similar to X.
All right, guys, welcome to the channel, America's Reality 360. Today we got another good one. We're talking Mark Zuckerberg and Meta, all right? You may have saw about a week ago, and in the clip in the beginning, he came out and made a big announcement, said they're going to end fact-checking at Meta. And Meta is, Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, etc. But they're going to stop fact-checking, and they're going to do more like X, formerly known as Twitter. The way they do it, they call it community notes. You're probably familiar with it. If not, it's just the users of the platform get to do the so-called fact-checking rather than some, shadow people behind the scenes. Most people seem to like it, and I think it's great news. But as far as Zuckerberg, he went on Joe Rogan yesterday, and he said some stuff. It was a 3-hour interview, but I watched the entire thing, so you don't have to. I took 2 pages of notes. Don't worry, I talk fast. But we're going to get into it right now. So he's making some waves, both on the right and the left. As you see, the left here, this is how they're framing it, right? CNN over here. You can now call women household objects. Okay, it's a lot more than that, obviously. But we'll talk about what he said on Rogan, okay? Now, I do want to say, this is the reason why I really think this is important, because people on the right are kind of freaking out. And they're saying, we can't trust Mark Zuckerberg, blah, blah, blah. And I get that. And trust me, I'm the guy who's always telling the right, stop believing every person who says one thing you agree with. Because something that I'm always saying is, I think people on the right are so starved for like attention from the elite class and the ruling class that like they'll just take anyone who just says one thing they agree with. The problem is these politicians know it. That's how you get Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell's, Mitt Romney's, these guys that they're Democrats, obviously, right? You watch how they act, the bills they pass, the things they support. They're very obviously Democrats, but they put a little R next to their name, and they know if they go on stage and say, back the blue, something, something veteran, then all the Republicans are going to vote for him. And I see that happen with a lot of figures. Elon Musk is the latest, right? He was a Democrat the entire time, but he supported the jab. He was against Trump in the beginning, but now he says a couple things that Trump supporters like, and he's their guy now. He's going to be the one to save us all, and I don't like that. So I am happy to see this skepticism for Mark Zuckerberg, and I think it's justified, and I think it's a healthy thing. But I don't know. I watched him on Rogan last night, and he kind of changed my opinion, to be honest. He said some things. He came out and admitted what the Biden administration was doing and how crazy they were about the censorship. So let me just frame it like this. Okay, so the way he started, he said he started the company at 19 years old, which we know. All right. And he wanted to just make a platform that people could communicate on and talk to each other on, and share videos and stuff like that. And that's what he did. And then 10 years later, Donald Trump got elected, and that changed everything. And I believe that, right? That's a believable story. Then in 2020, it really got crazy with the COVID and all that. He said himself it got to 1984 levels.
They pushed us super hard to take down things that were honestly were true, right? I mean, they basically pushed us and said, anything that says that vaccines might have side effects, you basically need to take down. And I was just like, well, we're not going to do that. Like, we're clearly not going to do that. I mean, that is kind of inarguably true.
Who is they? Who's telling you to take down things that
it was
talk about vaccine side effects?
It was people in the Biden administration.
So
I think it was.
He says he started out supporting free speech. 10 years later, it all changed. Now, I will say his stance on the COVID stuff and the jab, I don't really like, and he could still probably change some of that. But I think he's growing. I think he's learning. He seems to have a new crowd around him, and they're kind of influencing him, I think. So that's another thing he said. So just a background on Zuckerberg, right? He says he grew up with 3 sisters, and he now has 3 daughters and a wife. So he's just totally surrounded by women. And another term he kept using that I think is good, he kept saying that America is emasculated right now. We've been emasculated. And that's a great thing. We all know that's true. And he doesn't like it. And I think that's good. So, when he's using terms like that, and when he's saying he grew up around all women, he's been surrounded by women this whole time, it kind of tells me, gives me an explanation of why he was the way he was, right? I mean, they do say if you're not liberal when you're young, there's something wrong with you. If you're not conservative when you're older, there's something wrong with you. And I think Zuckerberg was just like a typical liberal at 19. He makes this amazing company. He's got millions and billions of dollars now. Everything's going good. And then suddenly, boom, the government is on his butt. They're threatening him. They're investigating him. I mean, he said he was getting investigated by all these agencies that don't even have to do with speech or media content. So they put the pressure on him, right? They really turned the screws. And I think it scared him. Okay. And I think that's why he went along with the censorship and stuff. Now, he did keep saying in this interview, we wouldn't censor the truth and stuff like that. Not entirely true. But the way he describes it, it does sound like they were trying not to do it so much. They were just trying to, balance it. But the Biden administration apparently just kept railing on him and telling him, you got to censor everything, even the memes, even the jokes. So maybe I'll share a clip of him saying that.
These people from the Biden administration would call up our team and like scream at them and curse, and it's like these documents it's all kind of out there.
Did you record any of those phone calls?
I don't think we but I think
I want to listen.
I mean, there are emails. the emails are published. It's all kind of out there, and they're like. And basically, it just got to this point where we were like, no, we're not gonna take down things that are true. That's ridiculous. They want us to take down this meme of Leonardo DiCaprio looking at a TV talking about how 10 years from now or something, you're gonna see an ad that says, okay, if you took a COVID vaccine, you're eligible for, for this kind of payment, like this sort of like class action lawsuit type meme. And they're like, no, you have to take that down. We just said no. We're not going to take down humor and satire. We're not going to take down things that are true. And then at some point, I guess I don't know. It flipped a bit. I mean, Biden, when he gave some statement at some point. I don't know if it was a press conference or to some journalists, where he basically was like, "These guys are killing people," and I don't know. Then like. All these different agencies and branches of government basically just like started investigating, coming after our company. It was brutal. It was brutal.
Wow.
Saying that I kind of want to make this fast, but what he's saying now is they're going to change it. He says Facebook has been pressure tested and he's ready to change now. And a lot of people are saying, oh, well, that's just because Trump's president now. And you know what? That's probably true. It is because of that. It's because he's trying to protect his multi-billion-dollar company. And none of us have ever owned a multi-billion-dollar company, so we can't really say we would do anything different, right? It's very easy to go, oh, First Amendment and free speech in America, and I would never do that. And I would say all those things too, but like I said, you haven't owned a multi-billion-dollar company that's being threatened by the federal government. And I think that could probably change your opinion on things, maybe change the way you act about certain things. So, we got to kind of give him some grace because he does own one of the biggest media companies, social media companies that we all use. So I say give him some grace, see how it goes. Now, this is another thing. The whole second hour of this 3-hour interview, the entire second hour was talking about jujitsu and hunting. 2 activities that Zuckerberg apparently really enjoys. Now, this is very telling to me, okay? I also have great intuition, all right? And you can trust me. I'm not lying. I'm not doing this for money. I'm not doing this for fame. I'm doing this for truth telling. That's all I care about, telling the truth, all right? So look, I'm using my intuition. I'm saying based on these things, I got a little more faith than the average person seems to have right now. Anyway, they were talking about jiu-jitsu. Zuckerberg knows his stuff. he misses it. He was out on an injury and he just had to get back in the gym, training with the guys, with the boys. And I think this group of guys is really starting to change who he is. Jiu-jitsu, the sport itself, is really changing who he is. And he describes that. Maybe I'll drop a clip of that in here. But he does go into talking about how it's changed him. And you can tell that he is totally involved in this sport. He loves it. And anybody who's really involved in UFC type fighting, MMA type fighting, you got to have some tough skin, right? You got to be kind of a tough guy. So I think that's great. He even says he wants to do a UFC fight in 2025. But he said it's going to be very busy with AI this year, which I'm sure that's true. So he might be too busy to do it, but he loves it. He even said that the jiu-jitsu with the boys opened his eyes. And yes, like I said, he uses the word neutered multiple times. He says America and males in America have been neutered. And he said about jiu-jitsu, where has this been my entire life, right? It's something that he knew he needed. He needed it. And also, he's a bowman. The guy goes bow hunting. Any of my hunters out there, you got to respect a bowman. Come on. The guy's a bowman. Now, he's not an expert. Him and Joe go back and forth. Joe knew a lot more. Joe does big game hunting. But he has a big property on Kauai Island, one of the Hawaiian islands. And I know because my mother used to live in Hawaii. I have family there. I'm part Hawaiian. They have a big boar problem. There's way too many wild boars. And they're like rototillers. They just tear up the ground and they ruin everything. And they eat endangered species and stuff. So they actually encourage you to hunt the boar. And he said he goes out hunting boar and he's teaching one of his daughters to hunt boar. So this guy is a little more base than we were giving him credit. Now, I get it. We got people like Tim Pool who are really, really not trusting this whole scenario. And like I said, I understand that. I think that's fair, right? Tim Pool was on Jesse Waters' show on Fox News last night. I'll drop a clip of that right here.
Are you buying the Zuckerberg transition?
I'm buying that he's a fair weather friend and that this is the path of least resistance. But hey, look, we're happy Trump won. So I'll take the power if he's shifting in this direction. But I think when you look at the Joe Rogan podcast, and he talks about, they're yelling at us and they're forcing us to do these things. This only scratches the surface. Facebook built a portal for feds to log in to their company so they could flag misinformation. It has long been known, over a decade, that the federal government, the FBI, the CIA, I think the NSA, had backdoor access to Facebook as well as many other companies. So when Zuckerberg comes out and he's all, oh man, they were yelling at us and putting this pressure. We had no choice to do it. You're only saying that now because the news and the information got leaked over a long and hard-fought battle where activists, real journalists, were exposing them for having done this. Now they're giving us the light vanilla version of, they were just having us censor this COVID stuff. No. Let me ask you a question, Mark Zuckerberg. Eric Charamella, do you remember that name?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of the guys involved in whistleblowing on Donald Trump for the false impeachment against him related to Ukraine. And there was a period where if you went on Facebook and typed that name in any context, they would delete it without notification, no warning, no rule violation. That is extreme censorship because covering up that name hid a news story of historical significance. We can talk about the laptop. That affected an election, massively important.
And then Joe ended up pardoning his son for the laptop that was real that you got censored for talking about.
All right. Thank you, Tim Pool. And let's give Tim a huge round of applause, okay? That's a really big accomplishment, making it on Fox News. I think it's awesome. He deserves the recognition. He works really hard. And I just thought it was great. He should really be proud of himself. Seriously, I think that's awesome. And he made a great point, okay? That's why I played the whole thing he said about it, because that's a really good point. And I do get why Tim and other YouTubers and the like are a lot more skeptical and they're kind of resentful towards Mark Zuckerberg. I mean, they had their channels specifically targeted and they were directly affected by this censorship. All right. When you have your channel demonetized, censored, striked, that really affects your lifestyle and your livelihood, because this is what these guys do for a career and it's a legitimate career. All right. Jesse Waters is making like $15 million a year and he's up here laughing about it. He thinks it's a joke. And I think Jesse's cool. I mean, I used to watch Fox News. Don't tell anyone I said that, please. But he was one of the best guys on there, I thought. And, he just thinks it's a joke. He's there to collect his check, read the teleprompter, and that's it. But guys like Tim, guys like me, we're in it for telling the truth. That's why we're doing this. And you can see Tim's taking it very seriously, and it should be. And like I said, I understand why these guys are skeptical, but if you watched what Zuckerberg said yesterday, he said this is going to be a wholesale shift. He also said that they're going to stop censoring all these things that him and his friends know to be true. So he's basically saying that he was censoring things that he knew was true and things that he didn't agree with censoring, but he did it anyway. And yeah, you can make an argument there, but again, that brings me back to a guy trying to save his multi-billion-dollar company. And to be honest, guys, when you're a business owner, you have to take yourself and your opinions out of it sometimes. It's more about the life of the business. You have to do what you have to do to make sure the business survives. And I think that's what Mark was doing. And maybe now he feels free, and he's free to do what he always wanted to do. Maybe that's what's happening. He did say he's going to be ending DEI hiring practices. That's a great thing. I mean, we all want that. So, remain skeptical, of course, but I think focus on the positives and realize this is going to be a good thing. All right. And a lot of people are saying, oh, he's just doing it because Trump won. Sure, that's probably true. He realizes Trump is the future. But I think what happened was back in 2016, he was getting all this pressure from the Democrats, and I think they just scared him to death. They probably had him thinking Trump was an anomaly. This was just like a one-time thing. He's going to be a one-term president, so you better do what we're telling you to do because we're going to get back in charge, and then we're going to run things from then on. I think he really believed that. But he did say that when they forced them to censor the Hunter laptop story, that was illegal, he said, in his opinion. So sure, does he think, oh, the power shifted and I better go with the power? Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing to save his business. But the real question is, was he always this way, or was he always a left brain and he wanted to be doing what the Biden administration was making him do? I think that's very much up for debate. And at the very least, I think maybe he used to be a left brain and now he's definitely a based patriot, I'm willing to say at this point. So let's wrap this up by finishing with what he said they're going to do specifically. And this is very telling as well. So he was saying how basically the way they choose what to fact check, what to censor is an algorithm. And they have these things they call classifiers. Now the classifiers, they'll decide whether a post is something worth censoring or looking into, whatever. And I'll drop a clip of him explaining it a little better.
So if you require 99% confidence, then maybe you only actually end up taking down 20% of the bad content. Whereas if you reduce it and you say, okay, we're only going to require 90% confidence, now maybe you can take down 60% of the bad content. But let's say you say, no, we really need to find everyone who's doing this bad thing. And it doesn't need to be as severe as dealing drugs. It could just be, it could be any kind of content of any kind of category of harmful content. You start getting to some of these classifiers might have 80, 85% precision in order to get 90% of the bad stuff down. But the problem is if you're at 90% precision, that means 1 out of 10 things that the classifier takes down is not actually problematic. And if you filter, if you kind of multiply that across the billions of people who use our services every day, that is millions and millions of posts that are basically being taken down that are innocent, and upon review, we're going to look at it and be like, this is ridiculous that this thing got taken down, which, I think you've had that experience, and we've talked about this for a bunch of stuff over time. And but it really just comes down to this question of where do you want to set the classifiers? So one of the things that we're going to do is basically set them to be require more confidence, which is this trade-off. It's going to mean that we will maybe take down a smaller amount of the harmful content, but it will also mean that we'll dramatically reduce the amount of people whose accounts were taken off for a mistake, which is just...
All right, you heard it. That's really good news. I was watching him like a hawk while he was saying all this stuff. Honestly, I was watching him like a hawk the whole time. Like I said, I have great intuition. So like when I watch someone talk, I'm looking for like the facial recognition, the movement in the eyes and the lips, the cheeks, everything. I got a little like intuition computer in my brain that tells me if someone's lying or not, or if I can trust them. Anyway, sorry, I go on, I weave, as you know, you may know. Anyway, so basically what he was saying, it comes down to this, right? It's like Benjamin Franklin said, okay? Better that one guilty man go free than 10 innocent men suffer. Okay, that's what it was. I knew when he was explaining it that that's what it was. It was that theory, that logic, and I was very curious to see what his decision making would be, what the conclusion was going to be. And he chose right. He chose right. You let some guilty people go rather than punishing innocent people. We don't want one innocent man to be punished. And that's what this is. He was basically letting some innocent people be punished because we got to catch as many bad people as we can. And he's realized now it's actually better to not punish any innocent people and you get the bad guys later. Or maybe you get less now and you'll catch up to the other ones. We always eventually catch up to them. It's about having the right penalties in place for when you do catch them. That's much more important. And it seems to me that he's realizing stuff like that. These are all based principles. You know, he's saying 1984, America's emasculated. Boys have been neutered. Better that one guilty man go free than 10 innocent men suffer. All these things that we agree with this type of logic. So again, I think it's very positive, and I think it's good to focus on the positives, right? You can be very speculative. That's good. I've been saying we need to stay vigilant, right? Let's not let our guard down. We didn't win the war. We won a battle. But we do need to stay vigilant, but let's focus on the positives, right? This is a good thing. We all use these apps. You're using either WhatsApp, Instagram, or Facebook, I'm sure. If not, you know someone who is. These things are a part of our life. So if they're going to start moving in a positive direction, I think that's a great thing. And I think we need to focus on that. I think 2025 is the year of revival. We were all blackpilled just a few months back. Everybody thought it was the end of the world coming this year. No, it isn't. Things are getting better. But yes, let's stay vigilant. I'm just saying, let's spread this skepticism around a little bit. Let's give some of that to Elon Musk, RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, all the Democrats that Donald Trump has completely surrounded himself with right after winning the election. And trust me, I understand. If you give them millions of dollars, right, you get a seat at the table. If you do some things to help them get elected, you at least get an interview or a meeting at Mar-a-Lago, right? I get that stuff. But, I don't think we need to be as worried as with Mark Zuckerberg. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying, let's be skeptical of him, but he's kind of like the least of my worries right now. I truly believe that this guy was based or has at least become based, and now he's just going to be free to act how he naturally feels like he wants to act, at the very least nowadays. But let me know what you think down in the comments, all right? Please like, share, subscribe. But yeah, let me know. Do you agree? Do you think I'm just babbling crazy person? Do you think we can trust Zuckerberg at all? Or do you think he's just doing all this only to save his company? And if the Democrats win in 2028, he'll flip right back around and just do whatever they want. Or do you think maybe he changed and maybe this is going to give him 4 years to really flesh out that based part of his soul? And maybe then, if the Democrats do win in 2028, he'll have enough cojones to stand up to him. But that's going to be it for this one, guys. I really appreciate it. If you're still here watching, it went longer than I wanted. I'm going to start condensing these videos. I promise you. I'm going to start coming out with more content. I know I've said these things in the past, but I had a lot of stuff go on in my life recently. But trust me, it's all done. And now it's 100% focused on this channel and bringing the truth to the public. That's what I want to do. And if that's what you want and you desire that kind of content, I'm your guy. So thanks for being here again. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Comment down below. Wrap it up, man. Just wrap it up, guy. Right? Wrap it up. All right, we're wrapping it up. America's Reality 360. I'll catch you tomorrow, hopefully. All right, later. God bless. Woo!